Boris Johnson and the European Commission President have agreed on a new deal to redouble efforts in a bid to solve significant differences in the UK-EU trade negotiations. The Prime Minister spoke with Ursula von der Leyen earlier today to discuss the state of play in the deadlocked trade talks. The move comes after Lord Frost, Mr. Johnson's chief negotiator, was in Brussels to speak face-to-face with his European Union counterpart Michel Barnier earlier this week. Meetings between the pair are due to continue in London next week after both agreed there are still gaps that need to be resolved as the deadline for doing a deal edges closer. A Downing Street spokeswoman said of today's call, Prime Minister Boris Johnson today spoke with European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen for a stock take on the progress in the negotiations between the UK and the EU. The Prime Minister set out that, while some progress had been made in recent discussions, significant differences remain in a number of areas, including the so-called level playing field and fish. The Prime Minister and President agreed that their negotiating teams would continue talks in London next week, beginning on Monday, in order to redouble efforts to reach a deal. They agreed to remain in personal contact about the negotiations. The main issues continue to be the level playing field, which aimed at preventing unfair competition on areas including state subsidies, fisheries policy and the governance of any deal. Talking to Express.co.uk this morning, a Whitehall source toned down any prospect of a deal from today's events but stressed that common patterns were being investigated across several issues. However, several EU sources stressed any progress which had been made by both sides in talks had been reversed and not moved forward. They stressed UK negotiators in Brussels seemed to put their foot on the brake. Briefings between Mr. Johnson and Ms. von der Leyen are seen as key moments in the cross-channel bartering after a conversation last month saw discussions intensified before a fallout after the European Council meeting on October 15 briefly derailed the negotiations.